I'm finally glad to be back after a very long break. I'm thankfully back with new, fresh content to keep you guys up to date with the weather again. And it did take a little bit to get back into the weather, especially since I haven't done a video for a while. And if you guys are curious about what I did during my break, not only did I change a few things to my channel, but I was also doing more things than just weather. Life is kind of getting pretty busy for me, so I just want you guys to understand that I've been a very busy person lately, and we are thankfully back into this. And I also do have other upgrades on the way for this channel as well. And since I am back, we recommend you guys subscribe to the channel. Make sure to also leave a thumbs up down below, and feel free to leave any comments, questions, or concerns that you guys have down below. Like I said, I am finally glad to be back, and I hope you guys enjoy my video. Let's first start off by talking about what's going on after a little while, and you guys can see that for today, we do have a marginal level 1 out of 5 risk heading from areas of Maine all the way back down there towards Atlanta, Georgia, and almost right in the middle of that, we actually got a slight risk heading from areas of Portland, Maine, all the way back down there towards Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where we do have a level 2 out of 5 risk. The thing to keep in mind for today is that, one, tornado threat, even though it may look a little bit elevated, especially across Maine, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts, I don't think we're going to see anything too crazy for today, and we will talk about why in just a second, but it is something that we're going to watch for, as a few tornadoes are definitely looking possible up there towards areas of the Northeast, especially in this brown color where we do have a 5% risk for tornadoes. And once again, that is a little bit on the lower side of things, but I also want you guys to keep in mind that it's also kind of rare that we get severe weather up there in the Northeast, especially this time of year. So we just want you guys to know that we could still be seeing a few tornadoes here and there, maybe even a few tornadoes as far down south as New York City, which is currently under a 2% risk for tornadoes. Not nearly as bad, but still, we're going to keep an eye on it very closely, as a few tornadoes are possible both in the brown and the green. We also do have a risk for some large hail. I know that looks like a 2% risk for tornadoes, but if you look up there, you can see day 1 hail outlook, and if you look down here at the bottom of the screen, you guys can see that the hail threat is only around 5%, so it's not really anything too significant, but at the same time, some large hail is possible really anywhere from Portland, Maine, all the way back down there into South Carolina. And then for wind, I think wind is going to be our biggest concern overall, as we could potentially see a couple storms contain some strong wind gusts, and this also appears to be the most widespread threat overall, as it includes areas once again as far down south as Atlanta. So if you guys live in the green or even the yellow, make sure you guys are ready for it, as we could potentially even see a few storms contain some winds up to 50 miles per hour, maybe even a few 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts being possible. And then once we enter tomorrow, we're not looking at any severe weather tomorrow, but thunderstorms are still possible anywhere from the plains back up there into the Pacific Northwest, and same goes across the southeast, as we will continue to see some chances for showers and storms linger. And then we also will be looking at potentially the same thing even as we head after tomorrow, which will be for your Monday. It looks like Monday isn't going to be a concerning day either, but we could still once again maybe get a little bit of showers and storms, maybe a marginal risk somewhere in the area. We don't know exactly how it's going to set up, but like I said, it is something that we'll be watching for, especially as we enter the beginning of next week. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, as we will keep you guys up to date on if anything changes over the next few days. Let's also look at the ingredients for severe weather that we have. This is the main reason why we are expecting severe weather across New England especially, and if you guys look at this, you guys can see that we do have have a pretty large amount of energy that will be surging on in from the Atlantic Ocean, and we could potentially see some areas maybe get as high as 2,000 joules per kilogram, where you see those orange colors. If you're wondering about the blue colors, that's about 1,000 to right around a 1,500 joules per kilogram. So not like the highest amount of energy, but still, we're going to have plenty of energy to work with. So we just want you guys to keep that in mind, as we will have enough to support potentially some significant severe storms. And we also do have plenty of moisture to work with as well. You guys can see that with the dew point, we will likely see some dew points not only in the 60s, but look at this, we're even seeing some lower 70s even starting to show up on the board as well, which is plenty of moisture for these storms. And then the last thing is going to be that wind shear, and you guys can see that we will be seeing some pretty strong wind shear over parts there of the northeast, and depending on what level of atmosphere you look at, the wind shear is going to vary depending on like I said, what level of the atmosphere you look at. But you guys can see that we will have plenty of wind shear to work with, including some areas even up there into New England. So we really got to watch this closely, as some areas could once again see a few tornadoes today, and this is all because of the elevated wind shear. Let's also talk about our temperatures. You guys probably saw that we've been seeing a lot of cool downs lately. A lot of cool downs has probably been one of the biggest stories lately, and you guys can see that we did warm up a little bit for today, as a lot of us are going to top out in the 80s and 70s across a pretty large area of the United States. But you guys can see that more of that cool air is going to try to usher on in tonight, and even tomorrow, bringing some lows in the 50s and 40s, maybe even a few upper 30s on the board. And then Monday, especially Monday morning, we are looking at lows potentially getting down there into the upper 40s, as far down south as areas of Missouri, Kentucky, even over there into Tennessee. So it is possible that some of us may reach the upper 40s once again, especially the farther down south you go, or sorry, I should say only as far down south as Tennessee. I just know that this pocket of cold air is going to bring some lower temperatures, and we could even be topping out in the 60s as far down south as the deep south. So we will watch that. And then as we continue to take this forward, we are going to continue to see the warmer air start to push on in here. So instead of seeing those 70s and 60s like what we've been seeing for highs, we will likely be trending back towards those 80s, which will feel more like August for a lot of folks out there. And you guys can see that the warm air even spreads into areas of the Ohio Valley, even up there into areas of the Northern Plains, and that will be by the time we enter Wednesday of next week. And then we do continue to see that warmer air around. Look at that, we could even be seeing a few upper 90s as well, which would be very, very unusual for this time of year. Don't want to say that's likely, but it is possible, since we are only looking about 5-6 days out from now. We're looking all the way out to Thursday of next week. And like I said, it's kind of something that's possible, but I don't want to say that it's going to happen, because once again, upper 90s would be very unusual, and you guys can see that a lot of that heat will just continue to stick around across a lot of those areas, continuing to see those 80s and 90s, and once again, a few 100s cannot be rolled out. And then after that, we start to see quite a bit of warm air still lasts, but we also start to see maybe a few cool downs come on in here. But overall, we will be trending warmer than normal, especially as we enter next week. Let's also talk about the tropics. You guys can see that for the tropics, we do have a couple systems that we are watching for. We got one low centered over the MDR region, and we even got a few other lows that we'll be watching closely as well. And you guys can see that when we look at that, we do have two areas to watch for. We got one over here that was potentially strengthening a little bit, but it actually lowered, or I should say weakened, and that's why we only got a 30% chance of development. Because if you guys remember, Hurricane Gabrielle was possible, but now that the tropical wave has actually weakened, the chances of that are becoming much lower. So this area of concern is not as, concerning as it was over the past few days, but we will still watch it closely. And then we also got another tropical wave over here that we'll be watching for. Not as likely that it will develop, but once again, we will still keep an eye on it very closely. And then we also got another area over here towards Hawaii that we will watch it very closely, especially once it dies down to a tropical storm, which is good news, but at the same time, you should still be ready, as we could still be looking at some bands of showers and storms, and maybe even a few strong wind gusts here and there. So make sure you guys are ready for that. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Once again, make sure to subscribe to the channel, as I am glad to be back, and we will start keeping you guys up to date with the latest once again. I will eventually have a winter forecast coming out as well, so make sure you guys are staying tuned for that, as we will keep you guys up to date once again on even the long range forecast that we do. And we also recommend you guys like today's video and leave any comments that you guys have. I would like to know if you guys are wondering about what I did during my break. And like I said, it's mainly because I've been getting really busy lately, and so we just want you guys to understand that. So make sure you guys do that, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend out there, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Thank you all so much for watching, and goodbye.